Hey guys, dpei here. We're starting out with episode 3 of Road to Masters. I think something people ask for is how do you play from a low roll spot? I think as a result, I kind of want to go through this. My early game is going to be really nonsensical. So if you're watching this being like, hey, I watch your videos, I know you should win early, all this stuff. I think this video will be a limit test for that. So even though we got really strong units in Zoe and Sejuani, this could be something that we think about. I think right now, like what defines a low roll spot? I think a spot where you're just like all my games I'm like streaking really heavily. I'm not going to look to make strongest board. Maybe I'll just like look to make reasonable units here. Maybe I'll check the void really quick. Sorry, check the void really quick. I think this is something that might happen. We check the void. We're like, oh, Kaisa, I'm in. You know, something really simple. Maybe I was just forcing Kaisa here. I would never force blades though. Blade master. So I think there are some advantages to lose streaking early. There are obviously a lot of advantages you could possibly get from lose streaking. I think the biggest advantage that you get is item priority. That is the biggest thing that you can get is item priority, and you don't really get gold, but you get a decent amount of gold. Not a good amount of gold, but a little bit of gold. And I think this is good, right? So let's just say, you know, this opener isn't too high roll, not too low roll. I don't think this is anything crazy, but let's just say we're gonna not play strongest board and all that stuff in the early game. And I'm not gonna think about my augment too much other than just, you know, hey, I want to force the exact comp I want to play. Some exact comp I might want to play here. Maybe you've read one of my guides. And it's just void. Void is really simple. I have not 2-star cog, but I think it's just something I want to force. Of course, before you force anything, the most important thing that you should do is what? We need to scout to make sure we're not contested. And, you know, there is something to be said about being contested and playing from that spot. And maybe that video can go over that. None of these seem too enticing to me. I think in particular, this one doesn't look very good. This one doesn't look very good. And let's go with this. You know, there could be a really interesting game I play here. Let's just say I did this. And I was aware that there was some like Zoe comp running around. I don't know too much of the details, but let's just say that that was something I was thinking about here. As you can tell, I didn't level. I didn't play strongest board. I didn't do anything like that, right? I see too many void players, to be totally honest. I see like 2. So it just like doesn't make that much sense to me, right? So in fact, I'm just going to open sell my whole bench here. We're going to not play an early game or anything. I should have played defender, but oops, I missed it, you know? No problem. We're learning how to play from a low roll opener, and we're going to play some reroll comp that we found on some site. I have not played this reroll comp, but I'm pretty sure it's something like this. Where's Malzahar? I think cog was important, so oopsie, sold that one. No problem. We're just like hard forcing a comp, and we're playing from low roll, right? So the big thing that you get from playing from low roll is, of course, one thing, you get item priority, right? That's the main thing that you get. So if your comp required BIS, this would be something that would be really good. I don't even think this comp requires any BIS as far as I'm concerned. I think the biggest thing is... I'm guessing it's Seraphine. Let me look up this comp maybe, but I'm guessing it's Seraphine. Sorry. Seraphine. What else could we possibly want here? Kog'Maw. Sorry, I'm like intuitively figuring out the comp here. Kog'Maw. What else could we want here? Garner? Is this the comp? Maybe it's something like this on level 7. I think we're re-rolling for something like this. Just buy out my shop out of good practice. And hey, we found this. That's great. And, you know, I again encourage you to hold everything, but we're like the lost streak guys. Let me just like reconfirm what this comp is really quick. I think it's this. I actually am fairly certain it's this. I'm not actually sure Skarner goes on here. Let me double check really quick. So as you guys can tell, we're just playing like a very... Oh, wait. Do I already have 7 units? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I didn't put Zoe on here. Oops. Okay, I actually had all the 7 units. So we just saw some guide online that said this, right? Like, let's just say we saw some guide online that said this. And we're just hard forcing it. We're playing from a low roll start. We could have played strongest board. We could have tried to streak here. We could have slammed our items. But one of the main requirements of this is getting Leonas, and then getting a Gargoyle Stone Plate is kind of big for our Leona. So I don't know too much. We're really trying to get Gargoyles. Oops, that's gone. I'm guessing JG or something is going to be really good as well. Maybe Gunblade is really important. Actually, half Gunblade here seems really good. But JG also is probably pretty reasonable as well. So again, we're kind of just hard forcing the comp, figuring it out. This should replicate a lot of what you guys are doing. Like, I haven't looked too deeply into the comp and what it's about, right? All I know is, hey, all I want is Zoe. I'm thinking, hey, I need Gunblade. Hey, I need Stoneplate, all that stuff. And then I'm thinking this could be Shojin. So that's why we went Sword there, even though Sword seems a little bit weird. I think, you know, maybe if we're really good at this comp, we think about rods and stuff. But hey, we're just following a guide. No pressure. So I think when you're lose streaking, you really want to make sure that you're actually lose streaking all the way. Here, everyone's level 5, everyone's stronger. I could think about slamming items, but I think the more important thing here above everything else is item flexibility. I think the sword, you know, maybe was a bit bad to take actually in retrospect. But you really want to think about item economy here, and I could slam Gunblade and maybe I could kill one more, save 1 more HP. Also, I want to check my Piltover just out of curiosity. And I want to recheck my Void to make sure Mouse is even remotely playable here. Leeching is actually the best one, and I think Gunblade was now a mistake. We should definitely just go full damage when we have Leeching. Don't really need to go Gunblade, but hey, we have 2 Zoes, so how bad could it be, is what I'm thinking. But it could be pretty bad. We'll see. I think the big thing for us is we need to think about like our main carries here. If it's a level 7 reroll comp, which I think it is, we're carrying these guys and everyone else's support. These guys as 2 stars don't really matter as much. These guys matter a lot, right? So I think here we're thinking we're closer to Zoe. I think something that people like mess up in lower elo is that they think, hey, I was told Mouse was the carry of this comp, like this needs to be the carry, whatever, if that's what my guide says. But we already have 2 Zoes, we already have a heroic grab bag. Maybe Mouse is the ideal carry of the comp, but hey, I'm pretty sure Zoe is a totally acceptable duo and a totally acceptable out. 3 cost is 3 cost, you know, and these characters don't require anything different. So we're kind of getting into reroll specific stuff, but I mostly want to teach you guys how to play from quote unquote low roll, right? We just didn't get the shops here. I think we could have made a strong board, but you know, if we're kind of going with that, we just didn't get the shops, right? Cool, our level costs nothing. Cool, I think Blast Shield sounds pretty good. I'm guessing Continuum Cogs is like also very good. But hey, this is pretty reasonable as well. So right now we're trying to, we need a point to bounce back. If you guys watched my econ video, loss streaking is okay as long as you actually fully loss streak here. And then we need at some point to bounce back. When is that for level 7 comps? Usually you want to roll on 3-5. Great, we got Nashers, Shojin, and half blue, no gargoyles. That's kind of bad. I again think we messed up here in item economy, but no worries. I made this, but we don't have to slam our items if we want to keep the 5 loss. Let's just say we want to keep the 5 loss for all intents and purposes. I think we messed up here. We obviously have, because we don't need Shred with Zoe. That's kind of the whole point. Cloak would be really good. We kind of have to make Nashers without JG, so Mace's Will would have been really good, or more importantly, JG would have been really good here. But I think above all, Gargoyles would have been the best. Yeah. So we're not going to slam anything here. There's totally a possibility that we get Jeweled Lotus, which I would imagine would be very good when you have 2 AP casters. I would imagine it would be, you know, quite good. Let's see if we're contested Mouse or if that person was just holding it for their own purposes, for Void purposes. Great. We scouted. We got away from the Void contest as much as possible. And we're okay losing this just because, hey, I'm playing weakest board. I'm following a comp. I'm trying to figure out all the items. This is something that would similarly happen in your guys' games, I think. What is something that we're missing from our board? So one, we have many carry options, but I think above all, we're missing something really important here. And just checking around the lobby, it looks semi-reasonable. I think we're missing frontline. This is a frontline item. This is a frontline item. I actually don't know how good this item is, so let's just think really quickly about it. But let's just say I trust this a bit more. This makes more sense on my board, I think. And Leona loves gargoyle stone plates, as far as I'm concerned. So something that people do, again, that's totally wrong, is that they really like making they really like putting the item on the 3-cost unit. This is 3 gold, this is 6 gold. 6 gold is better than 3 gold. And let's start to try to win rounds now. I'm just gonna try as much as possible. Nashers isn't great here. Maybe Morello makes more sense. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Morello makes kind of sense, but what does Bo actually turn into is the problem. I'm thinking for item econ, the glove might make more sense in totality, is kind of what I'm thinking here. Double mana item can't hurt. Oops, we're thinking so much about our items. This is what we would call a low roll or lose streak opener. I think I'm really over-exaggerating this, but I think this is something that people would do. I think a lot of people would just know what items to make, but I'm also thinking through it, just like you guys are, for a comp I don't know, right? Oh, great. We hit Zoe too. That's really good. Maybe I'm like, oh, I just want to keep lose streaking. No problem. Win, lose, no difference. Who cares? I can make BIS. I think this would be a big mistake in reroll comps to not want to bounce back. Again, we need to bounce back at some point. I don't know when, but at some point. And for us, if we're a level 7 reroll comp, maybe 3-5 is the most sensible time to do that, right? I think, again, here, we could make 3-item Zoe. I think our Nashers would make a lot of sense to make. Yeah, I think Nashers, sorry, not Nashers, JG to pair with our Nashers would make a lot of sense. But I think I'm actually going to try to win now. I have a 2-star Zoe. I think it's going to be hard to lose here. The question now is, do we go for Gargoyle Stoneplate or do we go for JG? I think here we actually, it's pretty reasonable to want to make a JG here, just because our Nashers actually does nothing without JG. But I think if we're thinking about our front line and our back line items distribution, I think we're really thinking like Stoneplate makes a lot of sense. It's a core item on our Leona, and because we're supposed to solo frontliner in this comp, and I think above all, we really don't have as many frontline items as we would hope. So this makes sense, and this makes sense. I think we're going to go with what makes more sense to me, which is frontline is really important in this comp. I think Nashers is unfortunately a bit dead here, but I'm going to pray for a glove, and if I get more, what's it called? Chain vest, that's no problem. As far as I'm concerned, I can make another stone plate on her. Hopefully we're not contested here. That'd be very awkward, I would say, because they don't have double trouble. I scouted this person and I just assumed they were going Invoker and stuff, which I'm still hoping that they're gonna do. Here, I think again we need to think about when we are going to spike. I look at my matchups. I think this guy's a little scary. I'm a little scared for sure. Let's try to pull together a 2-win here as much as possible. Do we make this? Sure, why not? I think this is more, you know, we talk about gold amounts, and something I think, you know, this is a 2-star 3 cost. I think 3-star 3 costs are even better, let me tell you. Oops. So again, we need to win at some point, and together, and here we're pulling together a 2 streak if we win. So, obviously, I chose an Augment to be down an Augment during the first stage, and I'm still, in fact, down it, right? All I got was really 5 golds from this, but the big thing that I did gain from it was Heroic Duplicators, which will help later. So I kind of changed the tempo here and made sure that I was strong in this stage by knowing that I needed to bounce back here, and I needed an item augment for my tank. This is kind of how we bounce back in these and pull together maybe a 3-win. I don't think Loris 3 is supposed to be in the cards, but because we do need Disruptor, but my question is, how close am I to Mouse? How close am I to this? Maybe we do think about Loris 3. I think it's actually pretty reasonable, but, you know, if we're just following the guide, let's just say we toss it. You know, I want to really follow this comp. It has a bunch of strict things on why it's good, why it's bad. You know, I don't really know all the details. But let's just say, like, I just really want to follow this comp. I don't want to play flexibly. I don't want to do any of that. I just want to play my exact board and get to it, you know? I think that's what a lot of people think. So let's emulate something like that. I think we were talking about like item economy and stuff like that. Once you know a comp better, you'll know what components are more valuable and things like that. Like, I think I obviously made a mistake on my stage 2 carousel on what items to prioritize there. I think it was a big mistake, and I didn't know what my void was. Or I didn't know what my void was, but I forgot it rather. Yeah. So I think once you know those a little bit more, those get a bit better. But again, this is to show like a more typical game as you guys are climbing through plat to maybe masters or something like that, right? This isn't supposed to be a challenger level gameplay situation. So I know this wants to be eventually Seraphine, and this wants to be eventually 2-star. I'm going to scout around. Something important to note is just because you're slightly contested doesn't mean you are actually contested. Here they're actually holding 4. They're actually holding the whole shebang. So I'm a bit concerned that we actually are just hot contested my exact comp, which would be very, very unfortunate if they don't scout me or see me. In my mind, they should be really, really going for Invoker, but hey, their game, no problem. Okay, really good news. We did get a JG. We do have another Gunblade. What is something that we're missing in this comp most of all? So we really need to make this JG. I think with this double sword, we really need to reforge at least one. I think this is going to be really unfortunate if we are contested. It does look like we are contested here. They're splitting their items, which is really interesting and maybe bad. But let's just say we really only know how to play this comp, right? I think it's pretty reasonable. Something we want to do here is really make sure that we reforge a sword to start trying to build a tank item here. You can reforge before or after. Oh no, we did not get anything here. So that really sucks. I think that really sucks. But hey, let's make reasonable items based off what we're given. What do we need most of all in this comp is we need frontline item, still lacking a frontline item. And I think we're lacking one more thing, which is anti-heal, right? Anti-heal is what we're lacking. So in either of these cases, we have to make an offensive component Gunblade and then red buff, or we make GS and then Morello over here. But our tank item is really, really delayed. Let's take a look at our contester really quick, because I just want to count how many they have here. It does look like a hot contest. It looks like an absolute hot contest here. So I think this is something good to learn to play around for sure. Earth is not that interesting. I think Spirit Link makes a lot of sense. Here, I'm looking for combat or something else. Let's just take a look. Sorry. 5 Malzahars. This is going to be really difficult. And 3 Zoes and lots of Lorises. Let's just say we are really, really keen on this, right? I'm rolling for a Seraphine here. I'm rolling for a Seraphine. And Mal's 2. Above all. Hey, this one and this one. I don't know if it's really, really worth a remover. But let's just say we really want to remove here. We're going to unlock Diana. That's interesting. I would imagine we would want GS here, and then we can think about not Spark, but maybe Crown Guard on Leona. I would imagine Crown Guard's not great, but we do need to make an item here. Don't sit on 3 components. You're sitting down. Hero grab bag is one way you can think about it. It's going to be really, really bad for us, right? But yeah, let's just say this is the comp that we're playing, and we're playing contested. I need to maximize my gold as much as possible here. I'm digging for 1 Seraphine, so I'm on a 5 streak. This is good, but I still expect to be fairly weak throughout this stage, and Malzahar 3 might just not be in the cards, right? It might not be in the cards. I think if I was flexible, I could think about an Ari pivot or something like that, but I'm not a flexible guy. I'm just a simple man here. So here, like, a question is, like, what are we rolling for? And I think a big answer is that we're rolling for Malzahar 2. We put an item on him. I'm willing to roll a bit deeper for it. And, in fact, this is a bit better. Maybe it's not a bit better. I'm lacking a bit of frontline here. If Malzahar was 2-star, I would say it's a bit better. Now I don't know if it's actually better, to be totally honest. So we lost 2 gold at a chance of getting stronger. I really want Malzahar 2. I think it makes my board significantly stronger, but we are getting closer to Zoe 3, so we're not maximizing my gold here. I'm trying to maximize my streak above all. As you notice, I'm not scouting a lot in this lobby. Mostly because I want to A, explain, but also B, kind of replicate something in your guys' game as well. So I think something that would be really enticing for you guys is like, oh, if I really wanted to win, let's send for Zoe 3. The problem is we need Zoe 3 and Leona 3, and we're probably not going to get Mouse 3 if we're going to be realistic. We're not going to be Mouse 3 in this game. So that's something we just like really need to think about in this game, right? Where is my like full cap at, and where's my full realistic cap? Do I need to be strong now or be strong later? I think looking at this lobby, it's kind of unclear to me, but I think I will need to spike now, and I think I'm gonna have to dig a bit, but I don't know if I actually have enough gold to hit everything. Here we're gonna look for Morello. We talked about the need for anti-heal. I think frontline items are really reasonable, but here this is on a 5 cost, and honestly, I don't see any Leona items here. And we're not going to sit on components. So again, I'm going to be rolling for Malz's. We're looking at Josh and E. They have 5 of these. That's really scary. That's really annoying. But no problem, right? Even Cog 2 makes a diff. I'm going to roll for Malzahar. Now I am 1 off and 1 off in theory of these. So I'm going to keep rolling. Hold on to this guy's thing for funsies. Now I have a question. Can we stop? Answer is I'm not really sure. Answer is I'm not really sure at all, to be honest. I in fact think I should just roll a little bit to 30. If I see a Leona, I think I'm willing to roll all the way down, to be totally honest. I think we could have swapped these two if we think Malzahar is the better carry at 2-star, but I think something important here is that we're probably never getting to Malzahar 3. This guy already has 5, which is really bad for us, and we're really close to Zoe, so if they're somewhat similar, if it's like a 1% diff, we can save the removers. If we think these next fights are really important, which I think they totally are important, we can think about actually just keeping it on her so that we don't have to remove, or we could just keep it on her for these 2 turns that are really important for us, right? We're still streaking here and all that good stuff. So as you see, we have had units in our shops that can make us really strong, but I think we're really passing those by as a result. Here I really want to roll to keep my streak, and I think if I hit something good like this, I can really consider rolling all the way down here. We just need 1 more, and then we can Nico everything. Here I want to keep my streak as much as possible. And I was scouting around, and these guys are all really strong, like exceptionally strong, I would say. I wonder what is strongest here. I think GS might want to go here, actually. I don't know if Zoe wants to cast more, or she already has 1-man item. We kind of talked about in the items video that I made, and the damage video. You want different things in different buckets. So these are 2 mana gen items. This is a crit item. Do I want a damage amp item here? I think probably yes, you know, just going with my fundamentals. I don't really know exactly all of Zoe's optimizations, like if she gets stun locked while casting, all that good stuff. I really don't know. But I think if we're just going to be reasonable people about it and think about the fundamental things that we talked about, I do probably want to remove this, and I do probably want to give her GS. She also attacks kind of front to back. Malzahar also attacks front to back, so I don't think either of these are bad. Morello needs to stay on Malzahar, right? That's super clear. Morello needs to stay on Malzahar because all the good 3 items go on Zoe. We'll do all the removers and all that nonsense afterwards, but I think one thing that we should be thinking about here into neutrals is not getting a 3rd Malz item, but getting a 3rd Leona item is going to be the most important thing, right? That is going to be the most important thing. I in fact see a Visage here. I in fact see a Visage here, and then Shojin or GS here. And I see a Shojin. We could also think about Sterix or Warmogs plus this, but I think Visage is just a bit of a better item here. And so we're going to land on Shojin. If we think about the totality of these 2 units, I think it's kind of interesting to think Shojin wouldn't be double Shojin wouldn't be wanted, but I think we should always just think about, hey, what is my best carry unit, and let me put my best items on them. If they're close, if they both do kind of carry like stuff, then no problem, right? What is the next thing we want on my board? Not in terms of items, but what is something that we can like improve my board with? I think one thing that's going to be really obvious is what is our next slot? We're almost going to 8. What is our next slot? We should really think about positioning here. What is my next slot going to be on this? And I think any legendary would be really good. people would like be like, long shot, that's really good. I'm buffing up a cog 1, that doesn't really matter. Really, we just want any good unit, any good tank unit. I think something here, we're not lacking damage or anything like that. Maybe we're lacking this. I just want to look at Diana's description. It doesn't make my Leona stronger, right? It doesn't. So that's not something we want. Maybe we want a bit more tankiness. Maybe Diana, you know, moonlights them and reduces their damage. Maybe that's basically utility. I think something that we, you know, might want to think about is, does our level matter here? And if the answer is no, I want to move my sides. If the answer is no, you know, if I don't think a Diana 1 makes a diff, no problem. If this was a Shyvana or anything, then I think I absolutely would. Absolutely would. I was trying to dodge the Silas to not get dunked on. Silas is very, very scary this patch. Ah, it got one shot by Zoe. So that's why we put our best 3 items on our best unit. If that was Shojin, we'd maybe cast faster, but do a lot less, right? Yeah. So I think here, the biggest improvement we can get to our board is actually Seraphine 2. I think Malzahar has Luching Nucleus. He's really strong, of course. But I think 12 is better than 3. Of course, he has Void in, which is really important. But I think the other thing that's really important is 12 is greater than 3. 12 is greater than 9, rather. So I think that's really important. We're going to hold this one to be really mean to this guy. I can think about re-rolling for Malzahars, but I don't really just want to roll for Malzahar. If we're being completely honest, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to just hold for Malzahar. This guy spawned in the game. I didn't even see them because we've been yapping so much. Let's position for our most important matchups here. I think here I can kill the Brock on this side. Over there, I'm a little... over on this side, I think the problem is that I'm hitting their Nautilus first, so I'm not that keen on that situation, but I think here I'm hitting the Scion first, and can backline access the Aphelios is kind of what I'm thinking in general here. Okay, so we're thinking about it next in. Diana's so far the only thing that I can really think of adding, unfortunately, or just some tank, some utility, something good like that. Maybe a 2-star unit would be something very enticing. Our contester's dead, no problem. We played like a slightly different version. This could be interesting. Ixchal's not interesting, but this is interesting just insofar as you know, it's an in, right? Piltover could be interesting, but I wasn't holding any Piltovers here. That is gone. What are we really looking for here? We're not carrying Piltover, so I'm not that keen on it. Maybe just a Void Staff for extra shred. And it gives me a unit to play, I think, more importantly. So I think with 5 Malzahars, you could make a definitely make a... what's it called? You could definitely make an argument that, you know, maybe we should roll for Malzahars and we're rolling for Seraphine on level 7. And we have 3 items on Malzahar. I would just kind of like to pump to 9 and add good units, personally. I think our spike is really low. Here, I want to kill the Brock as quickly as possible, personally. So that's why I'm positioning like this. And also, we kill the Volibear on this side really quick. We don't want to start on the strong side if possible. We want to start on their weaker side if possible. And Zoe hits 2 units, 2 of the closest units as far as I'm concerned. And that wasn't that close, so that's kind of interesting. I don't know. It says nearby in the description. We're figuring it out. I thought it was nearest, but not actually sure. If I'm not committed to Mal's now, I'm not going to be committed later. We can think about rolling on 8, but... we can think about rolling on 8. Because we still have Seraphine to roll for, and we still have a bunch of things to roll for, to be totally honest. Is Set interesting? Is Set interesting? We have a lot of +1s. I feel like the thing we're lacking on our board is not damage, but Set is always good, but do I really have items for him? I would say no, so I'm not that keen on it. We could think about re-rolling down. I think 1 more Malz, and I'd be happy to re-roll down, rolling for this. A open spot here, and a Malzahar. So that's kind of what we're thinking about when we don't have a lot of spots. This guy has Edge of Night now, but I can kill the Belveth on this side. The Set looks really scary over there. This lobby's looking very, very high cap here. This board actually doesn't look that strong now that I look at it. Everything's 1-star except for the Set. I think... Whoa. Silas is so cool. I think something that we're really, really looking out for is how to cap our board. If we need to deny anything as well, you know, some 2-star 4-cost shenanigans, all that good stuff. Wow, when you have a solo tank that does nothing, I guess it gets shut down by set very easily, huh? Set 2-star. So now we have to think, do we want to go 9 or do we want to go 8? I think we should have made that decision a couple minutes ago. If I were playing my own game, I think I wouldn't, but I don't really know the cap of this comp, to be totally honest. Here, I said if I got a natural mouse, we would definitely think about it. I think I'm thinking about it. I think the big thing that I want to switch off are kind of the support items onto my Seraphine, and hopefully we can Seraphine 2-star and then add a good unit here. This is a completely open slot here. I think we're looking for something with utility. I think Diana isn't really utility in my mind. Yeah, she's not really anything. I think Taric is more utility, and there's a lot of AP people as well. So we're going to commit to level 8 here. We have a Reforger. I think Shojin is probably acceptable. You shouldn't Reforge items when things are acceptable. This is interesting. This is interesting. Huh. Let's get some AP items. We could get triple Shojin. I actually, unironically think it might be triple Shojin. I think you could argue Nashers here and then move over the GS. I think I might do that. So best 3 items are my best unit. I think these guys are getting closer, so I think triple Shojin is okay, but we're starting to index a bit too much into Shojins, don't you think? I think we're thinking about our own Seraphine. 3 out, which is totally possible. The Scion guy is scaling, which is really scary for us. And again, we seem to be lacking frontline above all at this point. And maybe a bit of damage, more importantly. We only have 2 lives, so we really have to roll here and be decisive. Lucian Senna is a big upgrade to Taric, and we're 1 off, so we're going to dig all the way. And I'm just going to hold extra copies. Is Taric 2 better? Yeah, it is, and I'm not going to play weakest board here. And we found the Malzahar. Let's put all my good items back onto him. Do this little nifty remover trick. And I don't like that Seraphine's not in a corner slot, actually. Is the Seraphine alive? Really, do we have any way to go 9? I think my answer is no. I don't really have any way to go 9. The biggest improvement I can make to my board right now is going to be getting this Void Staff onto my Seraphine instead. I don't have that many removers, so we're already starved for removers somehow. But yeah, it's looking like at least a solid second. Maybe we lose to Bartophilios here. But we'll see how the matchup works out. I think I got significantly stronger, and I still think I can get even more strong is the good news. Taric seems kind of useless in this matchup, so maybe Lucian Senna was a bit better here. Do we need a roll? I don't expect to hit a legendary, but we are only 2 fights left. They do say Taric is Taric. They do say, sorry, not Taric is Taric. 2-star tank is 2-star tank, and I think that's completely legitimate. Do they have any AoE? The bear? The bear is something to consider. I actually don't know who's stronger between Zoe. Yeah, I actually don't know who's stronger between Zoe and Malzahar. I'd assume Malzahar is actually a bit stronger, but I don't have 2 removers, and we only have probably 2 more rounds to play the game. So we'll definitely see. This guy has actually infinite healing, so this is very scary for me. And his Scion's been scaling absolutely the whole game. He has Flicker Blades on Aphelios, which is, you know, probably the BIS in these long stalling matchups, right? But Taric is holding down the 2-star tank. Does look to be 2-star tank, and that's really, really good for us. Again, we're looking for a Malzahar item here. I don't think we have the most ideal items. There is Longshot, which could be interesting. Warden's not interesting. Is there anything better here? I'm seeing another Shojin. We are lacking damage amp on my board. I don't really want to buff my cog. If we think Void Staff is better than Longshot Emblem, let's read it really quick. Let's read what Longshot Emblem gives. I'm going to sell this because I now have 2 lives. Do we think Longshot is better? then Void Staff. I'm not super convinced it is. I am not super convinced. I'm just going to swap away. I don't really know. Just starting on the Scions doesn't seem that good. But they do have like last second save and Spirit Link. So we're both like very, very tanky people here. Put Seraphine in the corner here just to give her slightly more long shots. I'm not sure if this positioning is correct or anything like that. But yeah, it should be good enough is where I'm at. Looks like they didn't really get to use the last second save. I do have 3 carries here, so I am quite strong. And it looks to be enough. So hopefully you guys can see here how to play from a low roll spot. I know that was really, really requested in my videos is, okay, so you got your high roll opener. You're kind of getting super lucky. Like, how do you play from a low roll spot? Hopefully this shows you exactly how. So I think from this game, we can really learn how to lost streak well or how to play from a bad early game well, right? I think, you know, people confuse my videos saying that I never lost streak. I do value lost streaking. I think it is important, but I think the way to improve at TFT is by making stronger boards, because up until you're like challenger and you have equally skilled players who are all very, very smart, all know how to make their strongest board, all know how to tempo very well, you will always have an advantage in your lobby by being better at it than other people. So that's my suggested way for learning how to get better at the game, is by really playing the early game well. I think it's a way you can differentiate from other players. But if you do have to lost streak, there will be some games where maybe you can't figure it out, or you do truly have a low roll opener, right? You can't make it work. I think this game was a really exaggerated example of that, where I wasn't trying to do anything about it, right? Like I wasn't trying to make my strongest board. I sold everything possible to do it. There are advantages of lost streaking. I think the main one being that we get clear direction. I think in this game we ended up being contested, but we thought at the time that that was like the clear direction. We pivoted away from Void, right? We scouted, we saw 2 people Void here, and we were just like not keen on it. This guy being Void, this guy being Void, being Evolve Overcome, and then another guy holding Void. So we really tried to get our way out of it as much as possible. So this is what lose streaking can provide. You can just choose a better direction, right? And then also one of the things that it can provide is getting your priority items, which is kind of what happens here. But I think the most important thing that we can get is that we get a bounce back point. I think you guys see here, you know, from this 3-2 augment where we chose Bramble Vest augment, the Thorn Plated Armor augment, we were trying to win in this stage, because you can't just lose streak forever. At some point you have to make a board. And here, me making Loris 2 to make strongest possible board, I stopped here. This is where I thought I had a stopping point, right? But I think the most important thing is that I rolled here to be stronger, because I needed to win these next matchups to pull together a 2 streak, which eventually pulls together to the 3 streak, gets me gold during neutrals, and then turns into a 4-5 whatever streak later, right? But the important part is that I chose to bounce back here. I didn't keep on trying to sack with this second augment. At some point, I've got to come back in the game. I've got to play the game. I can't just sit here AFK with my bench the whole time. I have to find a reasonable point for my comp to bounce back. And for a 3-cost reroll comp, that's probably generally on 3-5, right? That we really need to do it somewhere in this stage 3. We really need to level and roll and spend our money as much as possible. So, you know, our advantage is here. You know, we get the item economy, we get Gargoyle Stone Plate, we have reasonable backline items. And then from there on out, it's just regular TFT. I think we put our best items on our Zoe as far as itemization goes. And we're scouting our contesters, seeing how many copies they have. They're a slightly different comp, finding our roll timings with our win streaks. I played normal TFT from then on out. I didn't play greedier. I didn't play anything different. That's just how I played the lost streak. That's how I played the beginning. But then when I decided to bounce back, I'm rolling for Leona 2, Zoe 2 at the right time, right? Where it makes sense, where I can hit both. And winning this round is super important, right? So that I can keep my 8 streak going into neutrals. And then I eventually have a really, really high cap out. I hope you guys see I have a really high cap here. And we move over our best items to our best units, as always, is our general principle. So I think hopefully you guys should not always learn how to lost streak. Learning how to lost streak and doing it correctly is really important, but you should learn and improve by trying to make strong boards. But when you can't, when you have to lost streak, loss streak as well as possible, you know, get the necessary gold that you have, but find a bounce back time, find a moment in time where we're coming back with our BIS items or with our great items and all that stuff, right? I think that's really the important lesson from loss streaking. As always, thank you guys all for watching. If you guys have any feedback on this, please let me know. And as always, have a great rest of your day. Bye.